Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing great today. Okay, so there's a big problem. There's an emergency. And this emergency is so huge and so monstrous that I said to myself, I think it's better you just pour out your heart and speak to people directly, especially my people in Africa, because there's a green snake in the green grass. There is fire on the mountain. There's a big, big problem. You see what is happening in Nigeria today. It's beginning to degenerate, just as I had already anticipated. I saw a bunch of videos that were sent across to me happening in Nigeria right now. Warehouses of food are being raided by people. Trucks carrying food items are stopped on the road and raided. And people loot everything in the truck. Why? Because people are hungry. I said we will get there and even get past this point. You know, Nigerians are known to be very resilient. That's what everybody says. That's why they say the things that have caused wars in many countries in Africa, 10 times worse have happened in Nigeria and nothing happened because the people are hopelessly resilient. But the resilience of Nigerians, I can tell you, is about to be broken because what is coming is big. Now, if you don't understand where this is all coming from, it will be very difficult for anyone to even adequately prepare to mitigate it or prepare for what is coming. Where is this all coming from? You see, many of us have heard the stories of the Great Reset launched by the World Economic Forum, and they told you that we need to reset our world. Remember when COVID-19 happened, they all came out in the open, never hid anything, and told us that this is a very beautiful opportunity. Schwab said it. The King of England said it. A bunch of all these globalists came out and said this is a rare opportunity. They needed the crisis, and they said it was a very strategic crisis, and that the crisis presented an opportunity for the world to now undergo a drastic reset. And the reset was intended to catapult our world or transition our world into the fourth industrial revolution, where robots are in charge. Human labor is all but vanished. But virtually everything in the labor force revolves around robots. And we have seen the signs everywhere. Where in China, in Japan, you see robots that actually serve food to people in a restaurant. And you think, oh, is it possible? It's happening already. You come to an entire warehouse. You come to an entire location and you see places that would have had like 100 or hundreds of people working. Robots are completely in charge. That's the fourth industrial revolution. But the fourth industrial revolution does not only have the replacement of human labor with robotic labor, they have so much more, which is why I said, let me talk to us one-on-one. What these guys are bringing into our world is called socialism. It is socialistic economic system. It advocates for government to practically own everything. And so you, the citizen, you will own nothing and you will still be happy. This phrase, you will own nothing and be happy, actually emanated from where in 2016? It emanated from the World Economic Forum, a video they shared in 2016. Own nothing and be happy. So private sector go under. The production of food and services, of goods, should belong to the government. You will now have feeding centers scattered all over the place, controlled by the government. You will now have supermarkets where you have to go and buy something, controlled by the government. And so the downside to all of that, when government controls everything, is that you are compelled to have no opinion. You are basically living in an Orwellian state. Draconian, authoritarian, Orwellian state. Go and read George Orwell's book, so you can understand what these guys are planning. Totalitarianism. Own nothing, still be happy. But how can you be happy when you have no opinion? You can't even think for yourself anymore. Because if government controls everything, what it means is that when they tell you, don't go this way, you don't have any right to go other way. If the government says, sit down here for 10 hours, you don't have any human right to say, I don't want to sit here, I feel like I want to go there. You waive all of your rights. And if you are not doing well, you notice that you're not going to be given access to those places like supermarket, the food banks, and all the places, even the power. So everything that makes life worth living will be controlled by the government. Your own capacity to even produce and become a private entrepreneur will be taken away from you. You are 100%, everything you want, the government will provide. There will be equality. The rich and the poor are now on the same level. And you can imagine the poor people in these third world countries are going to be like, yeah, such a wonderful idea. We are now on the same level. This is what we've been praying for. But you forget that all of you have just suddenly signed up for slavery in perpetuity without knowing it. Because it means that you have only one big brother who is going to provide everything and make sure that they use that thing to deal with you. Look at what is happening with social media companies. The moment they became so big and so powerful, they now began to censor people's speeches. They began to censor opinions. A conservative will come up with an opinion that is actually very valid, and they censor it because it is not compatible with their liberal mindset. It is not compatible with their own liberal context. It is not compatible with what they believe. And so they censor you because the narrative you are promoting is totally alien to them. So you can imagine if there were many like them, if they were not too powerful, the moment you're censored, you get out and say, to hell, I don't care. But you see, when you concentrate power in just one place, you have literally just signed your own death warrant. This is what the World Economic Forum is bringing to our world. You are going to lose everything as a private citizen, and the government will now gain everything as the Lord over all. And this same government will now use this humongous authority and power to oppress the people, to control opinions, to control the way you think. That's why in George Orwell's book, it says there will be even a thought police where you are not allowed to think anything contrary to the narrative or the ideas that the government wants you to promote. How is this freedom? You look at all the things happening now, you don't know that this is where we're headed. You see, what is happening in Nigeria is happening in Malawi, It's happening in different African countries and even different parts of the world. Because they have the king that has been enthroned many years ago to initiate these policies. And that king is called the IMF and the World Bank. They will come to you and they will tell you, go and float your naira. If you're not going to float naira, we are not going to support you to become president. We will make sure we frustrate you. Then you go, oh, I will do it. I will float my money. I will follow this policy. I will follow this one. Then IMF will be like, oh, it doesn't matter. No matter who you are, we're going to tell the whole world that you are an angel. This is what they have twisted many politicians in Africa and elsewhere and said, agree you are going to do what we ask you to do, and we're going to make sure that you come to power. And most of those people fell for it. And as soon as you come to power, you have to follow everything that IMF tells you to do. And IMF is working directly with and for the World Economic Forum, which is bent on bringing this socialist lifestyle. Everything is going to be centralized. Your religious worship is going to be centralized. And this is why we told you you're going to have one world religion, which the Pope has advanced so much that there is literally not much left to be done now. It is just the announcement that they are waiting for. They have united almost all the religions of the world. Nothing more is left. They even have an Abrahamic family built already. You have the Jewish religion, the Christian religion, the Islamic religion. They have their homes built in one place. Forget about all this rivalry you're seeing. They have everything sorted out because everything has to be centralized. If you don't centralize everything, control becomes very difficult. But once you centralize everything, once you consolidate power in places where only one person is in charge, that's how you know that the Antichrist has gotten everything he's looking for. That's why you're going to have one world religion, one world government. How can you have a one world government if there's no socialism? If the state does not control everything? If some individuals can get up and say, well, the country can go to hell, I am going to make sure I feed all these people, I'm going to take care of all this, you wouldn't have that power anymore. You would have lost the ability to do that under a socialist system. That's why governmental institutions in some of these countries like Nigeria are already gearing up to start setting up places where they will feed people, where they will hand things over to people. And you don't know why that is happening. It's not necessarily just benevolence. It is a warm-up to embracing this globally sponsored socialist system that will enslave everybody. You will have nothing, and yet you will be happy. How? That's the doctrine of the World Economic Forum. Remember, they went to the same place where Moses received the Ten Commandments. When they got on the mount, they went and created their own climate change 10 Commandments. If you read the items on the climate 10 Commandments, you will see where these guys are going. They want to achieve net zero. They want to achieve zero carbon emission. That's why in some countries in Asia, I'm sure China is even one of them, people now even get rewarded based on the amount of carbon emission they burn. The less you burn, the more credit you receive from the government. You have to be a good, obedient citizen. You are compelled to be one. Because if you don't become one, you don't have a pass to get into the bus or train to move. You don't have any ticket to go and get food stamp. You don't have any access to go and buy food in the government-controlled supermarkets. You don't have access to even go into a religious center to worship. You become like a terrorist. You are a danger to the society. The utopian society they are hoping to create, which they are dealing with right now. That's why all the countries of the world that are still under the unipolar world system, all of them are the ones suffering now. Remember the videos I made in the past where I talked about the unipolar world system. The unipolar world system is the world system that had occupied all of our world, that conquered everywhere on earth, almost everywhere. It is the system that held Africa down. Everything you know as international politics before Russia showed up and started playing into African politics, everything you've ever known was under the unipolar world order. That's why every day you see Putin speaking, he tells you that there is no going back on multipolarism, because we are now moving from unipolar to multipolar. That's why you are having what is called BRICS. That's why you have a situation where Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger and other countries are joining in and breaking away, because ECOWAS is a formation of the unipolar world order. AU is a formation of the unipolar world order. United Nations is a formation of the unipolar world order. ICJ is a formation of the unipolar world order. All the institutions you know, even the sporting union, even everything, all owned, controlled. The media establishment that you know today, owned, established by the unipolar one world order. So all these things were put in place so that all the slaves under this system are kept in the plantation. You are not allowed to step out of the plantation. You try anything, they come after you. With CNN, BBC, all of them, because they own the media establishment. If you try any nonsense, they come after you, like they did to Laurent Gbagbo of Ivory Coast, because he challenged the colonial powers, France. And after messing him up, after humiliating him, after the torture of many years, they still came back and said, we didn't find anything. They knew there was nothing to find in the man. He did nothing wrong, only that he challenged the architects of the unipolar one world order. This is why Russia has been marked today for demolition, because Russia dared to stand up to the unipolar world order. This same unipolar world order knows that it is time up. As BRICS begins to amass as many nations as possible, they know that it is time up. The only thing they can do now is to accept their defeat, which is impending and imminent, or they will create a massive monster chaos, and destroy everything, which is what they have now codenamed Great Reset. Their Great Reset will not come easy. It will come by force, because they know that their existence is threatened by BRICS. So they are going to bankrupt all the nations that are still under their control. And you can start from the commonwealth of nations. It is common poverty of nations. No wealth there, because all the nations there swear allegiance to their own slave masters. And they are the ones, check all of them one by one, you see they are the ones going through this hell, especially the ones in the third world country. So Nigeria is not alone. But if you go to Niger today, you go to Mali, you go to Burkina Faso, you will see how it's almost as if we are all not in the same Africa. Things are moving upward, looking up like this. But the so-called giant of Africa that has refused to join BRICS, things are looking this way. Why? It doesn't take any rocket science. How do you expect your naira to become 10 to $1 or 50 to $1 or even 1,000 to $1 when nobody is looking for your currency to do anything? This is the satanic system that this unipolar world order did. That's why I told you that the system was created to keep the slaves perpetually in the plantation, not going anywhere. If not, how do we have oil in Nigeria? When people want to buy the Nigerian oil, they look for money that belongs to another person to buy the oil that belongs to Nigeria. But what did BRICS introduce? BRICS said every member of BRICS is now encouraged to sell their own natural resources in their own currency. So if, for instance, you want to go and buy something that belongs to Niger, like uranium, you have to go and look for their money to buy it. By the time you start looking for that money to buy in millions and billions to buy, the money becomes scarce and value is stacked up, piled up on the money. Then the value of the money begins to increase, because it is the scarcity that now brings the value upon the money. That's what bestows value on the money. Who is looking for Nigerian naira to do anything today? What would you be looking for naira from outside to do? Not even the foreign airline companies. Nobody is looking for naira. If you want to do Nigerian-owned businesses, you have to use dollar to do it, because you are a slave. The BRICS has said, "Come to me, all ye that are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." But our people refused. That's a biblical nomenclature, but you know it. Our people refused. And look where we are today. We are following the slave masters that have always kept us down. Things are going to get far worse than you see it today. They are going to get far worse. Floating or no floating, there's no amount of economic maneuver that Nigeria will ever do to change the situation. It is a global thing. It is sweeping across the entirety of our world, and we know the desperation of the colonial powers who are instigating this, and they will stop at nothing to see that everything is crumbled. Otherwise, they are going to face their imminent collapse forever. While we are busy playing games with the destinies of over 200 million people, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, United Arab Emirates, all these guys, see how they are all flooding into BRICS. It was Saudi Arabia that gave the United States dollars that name that it has on the global stage, called the petrodollar. Saudi Arabia has dumped. They are now selling their own energy and oil in their currency. But we, Nigeria, we are still using dollar to buy, to sell our own product. And we can't even ship anything out. What are we exporting? No attraction for your naira. Your naira is bound to keep going this way and this way and this way. Now, here is my final message and thought to religious leaders in Nigeria. I am telling you this not as a prophecy. I don't even know whether to call it a prediction. But when what is about to burst has fully bursted, it's already bursting, but when the burst has fully happened, the church will become the #1 target. I tell you, if you are a church leader in Nigeria today, a religious leader, especially the church, that is always the preferred victim, get people, your partners, to help to set up soup kitchens in communities and start feeding the people. Church now needs to go out of the 4 walls of the building. Move your churches into the communities now. As you're sharing with them, you're feeding them. It's no longer going to be the cozy kind of atmosphere you're used to. Go out there and interact with the people. Find out what they're going through, how they are coping with life, and begin to give food to the people in the streets, and then share the word of God with them in the process. If this doesn't happen, they will invade the churches and make sure that the churches are brought down. They're going to say that you are part of their problem, that all the tithe and offering that they've been given is part of what bankrupted them. They will not know where this thing is coming from. Nobody will allow them to see the actual source of the madness that is happening. They will put the blame on anyone. People who are rich and wealthy, driving big cars, you will see how that you also become a target. They will say, you are the reason we are suffering. Politicians, you are the reason we are suffering. Everyone that needs to be blamed will be blamed. Even people who have nothing to do with the situation will be blamed. So the earlier we prepared ourselves, the better for all of us. Beyond the churches, no matter who you are, if you think you have the means, you have the wherewithal, and you are able to help anyone around you, please do your best to help. Me, in my own little capacity, I have been doing. It's just that I'm not the kind of person who come to show the things I do on social media. I have been doing quite a lot in different capacities that will blow your mind. But you see, those of you who are out there in the open, whatever it is you can do, even if you want to show it on social media, show it, but let's become our brother's keepers. Raiding warehouses and trucks that are carrying foodstuffs and food items is only the starting point. It hasn't, nothing, in fact, it's not even enough to become a starting point. This is just a preamble, the smallest of the preambles you should expect. Because when the real thing happens, they will be coming into your homes. They will be knocking on homes and telling you, what do you have there? Even people will face attacks. I hate to say all these things, but this is a reality that we see unfolding before our eyes. And they orchestrated all of this to happen this way, because that's the only way that the man of sin will come and say, oh, I am the man of peace, actually. I want to give peace because there's so much chaos all over the world. I will provide you with food because there is so much hunger all over the world. So all the problems that they created, they will come and bring and be the ones that will provide the solution for it. Remember? Although at chaos, order out of chaos, you create the chaos. You go and pretend like you don't know how the chaos happened, and then you get the people that you have created chaos in their midst to start crying out and calling for you to come and give them peace or give them solution. Then you will come and you bring peace and solution to the chaos that you created by yourself, and then you own the loyalty of these same people. That's how these guys have functioned for generations, and it is the same thing they are going to do at this time around. Be ready. Be ready. My usual classic advice, go back to your farming if you know how to. If you don't know, go and learn it. Go back to your fishing. Go and learn all these critical skills that you can survive on if everything else you have been depending on goes. And to my guys who are making so much money from social media, read my lips, mark my words. Very soon, you won't be making that much anymore. You won't even be making anything again. It's all going to crumble because your loyalty will now be for sale. And the price will be too heavy for you to afford. Right now that you're making this little money, is that you invest wisely, or you go and stock up on food, or you go and learn your skills, dust your village houses, and get yourself ready for eventuality. Because when it happens, I'm telling you, when it happens, it's going to happen so quickly. Suddenly, nobody will prepare you for it. It will just happen. And that's when you're going to see a lot of people crying out for help and wanting to kill themselves. May that not be your portion. And may God help us to be able to navigate through these turbulent times without losing our lives in the process. God bless you.